everyone. This is Greg Mona, aka Master Moo, with this week's edition of Art is the Church of God the Creator, where we say that with a smile, but we say it because we mean it in some sense, however, whatever sense that makes to us. Keeping in mind that anything worth stating can be stated and should be stated in secular terms. So when we use theological language, and we use the big G word, we're choosing the emphatic register. We understand that it can be stated in purely secular terms. A secular way of transmitting that would be art is the necessary activity to have a proper understanding and relationship to our sense perceptions. But in a more emphatic way, a stronger way of stating that is God is the Church of God the Creator. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to read straight through Shakespeare sonnets as much as we can. We're going to try to read through the whole thing until my voice or my body gives out, and so we'll do this either in 1 or 2 sessions. And as a study guide, so just click on online for the PDF of the Folger Shakespeare Library, and we're using the standard modern version of the Shakespeare sonnets in terms of, corrected spelling and all that. And as a study guide, we're using Helen Vendler's great book, The Art of Shakespeare Sonnets. Helen Vendler was a great teacher who recently passed away, and I think her study of the sonnets is just unsurpassed. So I really recommend her when it comes to the sonnets. Absolutely. She's also a great scholar of Wallace Stevens and the American modernists altogether. But okay, so we're going to start off with the first sonnet, and the first many sonnets are the so-called procreation sonnets. So they're following the pedagogical relationship between the elder poet and the aristocratic young man, the fair youth, who he has been engaged to. The poet's job is to convince this somewhat wayward young man to settle down, get married, have kids. So the first several poems are a series of exhortations to praise of family life, of parenthood, of fatherhood, and trying to convince him that his refusal to marry and have kids is he's being irresponsible. So sort of trying to manipulate him into that. And then, as we see, as the sonnet sequence progresses, the poet becomes more and more emotionally connected to the fair youth, who initially he's simply he's tutoring, is simply like a teacher tutor, mentee sort of thing, and he develops an awkward crush or romantic feelings, and then this is further complicated by the poet's mistress, who is the dark lady, who was probably a black woman living in London, definitely not his wife. This is all taking place in London, far away from Stratford, where Agnes was raising the kids, and then there is a fourth character, the rival poet, who takes an interest in the fair youth as well. And so there's 2 levels of jealousy. There's jealousy of the rival poet, and there's jealousy of the dark lady, and there are various configurations of this, sometimes folie à deux, sometimes ménage à trois, sometimes a kind of just a zoo, a 4-way zoo. Okay, and then it all sort of resolves kind of in kind of exhaustion, but maybe we may not get there yet. Okay, but it's a great sort of an epic transcription of a midlife crisis, sexual obsession, midlife crisis. Of course, in this very veiled language, I mean, this same-sex desire could not have been explicitly stated in the 17th century. I mean, this was, death penalties and so on and so forth. So, we have to read between the lines, but it's great poetry. Again, as we're reading, we're paying attention to the iambic pentameter, the quatrains, the groups of 4 lines, so the 3 quatrains. So listen for quatrain 1, A, B, quatrain 2, C, D, C, C, sometimes C, D, some C, D, D, C, sometimes, but usually A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, and then the volta, the final couplet, usually the heroic couplet, G, G, So listen to those 7 rhymes and be attention. The volta, the jump, there's always some surprise at the end, and usually highlighted by punctuation and stuff like that. Also indentation. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Sonnet 1, I'll just give the numbers like 1, 2, 3 as we go. Okay. 1. From fairest creatures we desire increase, that thereby beauty's rose might never die. But as the riper should by time decrease, his tender air might bear his memory. But thou, contracted to thine own bright eyes, feedst thy light's flame with self-substantial fuel, making a famine where abundance lies, thyself thy foe, to thy sweet self too cruel. Thou that art now the world's fresh ornament, and only herald to the gaudy spring, within thine own bud buryest thy content, and, tender churl, makest waste and niggarding. Pity the world, or else this glutton be, to eat the world's due by the grave and thee. 2. When 40 winters shall besiege thy brow, and dig deep trenches in thy beauty's field, thy youth's proud livery, so gazed on now, will be a tattered weed of small worth held. Then being asked where all thy beauty lies, where all the treasure of thy lusty days, to say within thine own deep-sunken eyes were an all-eating shame and thriftless praise. How much more praise deserved thy beauty's use, if thou couldst answer, this fair child of mine shall sum my count and make my old excuse, proving his beauty by succession thine. This were to be made when thou art old. This were to be new made when thou art old, and see thy blood warm when thou feelst it cold. 3. Looking in the mirror. Look in thy glass, and tell the face thou viewest, now is the time that face should form another, whose fresh repair, if now thou not renewest, thou dost beguile the world, unbless some mother. Or where is she so fair, whose uneared womb disdains the tillage of thy husbandry? Or who is he so fond will be the tomb of his self-love to stop posterity? Thou art thy mother's glass, and she in thee calls back the lovely April of her prime. So thou through windows of thine age shalt see, despite of wrinkles, this thy golden time. But if thou live remembered not to be, die single, and thine image dies with thee. Okay. Number 4. Unthrifty loveliness, why dost thou spend upon thyself thy beauty's legacy? Nature's bequest gives nothing, but doth lend, and being frank, she lends to those are free. Then, beauteous niggard, why dost thou abuse the bounteous largesse given thee to give? Profitless usurer, why dost thou use so great a sum of sums, yet canst not live? or having traffic with thyself alone, thou of thyself, thy sweet self dost deceive. Then how, when nature calls thee to be gone, what acceptable audit canst thou leave? Thy unused beauty must be tombed with thee, which used lives the executor to be. Sonnet 5. Those hours that with gentle work did frame the lovely gaze where every eye doth dwell will play the tyrants to the very same, and that unfair which fairly doth excel. For never resting time leads summer on to hideous winter and confounds him there. Sap checked with frost and lusty leaves quite gone, beauty o'ersnowed and barrenness everywhere. Then, were not summer's distillation left, a liquid prisoner pent in walls of glass, beauty's effect with beauty were bereft, nor no remembrance what it was. But flowers distilled, though they with winter meet, least but their show, their substance still lives sweet. 6. Then let not winter's ragged hand deface in thee thy summer ere thou be distilled. Make sweet some vial, treasure thou some place, with beauty's treasure ere it be self-killed. That use is not forbidden usury, which happies those that pay the willing loan. That's for thyself to breed another thee, or 10 times happier, be it 10 for 1. 10 times thyself were happier than thou art, if 10 of thine 10 times refigured thee. Then what could death do if thou shouldst depart, leaving thee in posterity? Be not self-willed, for thou art much too fair to be death's conquest and make worms thine heir. 7. Lo, in the orient, when the gracious light lifts up his burning head, under each eye, doth homage to his new appearing sight, serving with looks upon his sacred majesty, and having climbed the steep up heavenly hill, resembling strong youth in his middle age, yet mortal looks adore his beauty still, attending on his golden pilgrimage. But when from highmost pitch with weary car, like feeble age he reeleth from the day, the eyes for duteous now converted are from his low tract and look another way. So thou, thyself outgoing in thy noon, unlooked on diest, unless thou get a son. Number 8. Music to hear, why hearest thou music sadly? Sweets with sweets war not, joy delights in joy. Why lovest thou which thou receivest not gladly, or else receivest with pleasure thine annoy? If the true concord of well-tuned sounds by unions marred do offend thine ear, they do but sweetly chide thee who confounds in singleness the parts that thou shouldst bear. Mark how one string, sweet husband to another, strikes each in each by mutual ordering, resembling sire and child and happy mother, who all in one pleasing note do sing, whose speechless song, being many, seeming one, sings this to thee, thou single wilt prove none. 9. Is it for fear to wet a widow's eye that thou consumest thyself in single life? Ah, if thou issueless shalt hap to die, the world will wail thee like a makeless wife. The world will be thy widow, and still weep that thou no form of thee hast left behind. When every private widow well may keep by children's eyes her husband's shape in mind, look what an unthrift in the world doth spend shifts but his place, for still the world enjoys it. But beauty's waste hath in the world an end, and, kept unused, the user so destroys it. No love towards others in that bosom sits, that on himself such murderous shame commits. 10. For shame deny that thou bearest love to any, who for thyself art so improvident. Grant, if thou wilt, thou art beloved of many, but that thou none lov'st is most evident. For thou art so possessed with murderous hate that thou gainst thyself shouldst stick'st not to conspire, seeking that beauteous roof to ruinate, which to repair should be thy chief desire. Oh, change thy thought, that I may change my mind. Shall hate be fairer lodged than gentle love? Be, as thy presence is, gracious and kind, or to thyself at least kind-hearted prove. Make thee another self for love of me, that beauty may still live in thine or thee. So notice the sort of the shift now towards the poet's emotions. Yeah. Okay. 11. As fast as thou shalt wane, so fast thou growest in one of thine, from that which thou departest, and that fresh blood which youngly thou bestowest, thou mayst call thine, when thou from youth convertest. Herein lies wisdom, beauty, and increase. Without this, folly, old age, and cold decay. If all were minded so, the time should cease, and 80 years would make the world away. Let those whom nature hath not made for store, harsh, featureless, and rude, barrenly perish. Look whom she best endowed, she gave the more, which bounteous gift thou shouldst in bounty cherish. She carved thee for her seal, and meant thereby thou shouldst print more, not let that copy die. 12. When I do count the clock that tells the time, and see the brave day sunk in hideous night, when I behold the violet past prime, and sable curls all silvered o'er with white, when lofty trees I see barren of leaves, which erst from heat did canopy the herd, and summer's green all girdled up in sheaves, borne on the bier with white and bristly beard, then of thy beauty do I question make, that thou among the wastes of time must go, since sweets and beauties do themselves forsake, and die as fast as they see others grow. And nothing gainst time's scythe can make defence, save breed to brave him when he takes thee hence. 13. Oh, that you were yourself! But, love, you are no longer yours, then you yourself here live. Against this coming end you should prepare, and your sweet semblance to some other give. So should that beauty which you hold in lease find no determination, then you were yourself again after yourself's decease, when your sweet issue your sweet form should bear, who lets so fair a house fall to decay, which husbandry and honor might uphold against the stormy gusts of winter's day and barren rage of death's eternal cold. Oh, none but unthrifts, dear my love, you know. You had a father. Let your son say so. 14. Not from the stars do I my judgment pluck, and yet methinks I have astronomy, but not to tell of good or evil luck, of plagues, of dearths, of seasons' quality, nor can I fortune 2 brief minutes tell, pointing to each his thunder, rain, and wind, or say with princes if it shall go well, by oft predict that I in heaven find. But from thine eyes my knowledge I derive, and constant stars, in them I read such art as truth and beauty shall together thrive, if from thyself to store thou wouldst convert. Or else of thee this I prognosticate, this end is truth's and beauty's doom and date. 15. When I consider everything that grows, holds in perfection but a little moment, that this huge stage presenteth naught, but shows whereon the stars in secret influence comment. When I perceive that men, as plants increase, cheered and checked even by the selfsame sky, vaunt in their youthful sap at height decrease, and wear their brave state out of memory, then the conceit of this inconstant stay sets you most rich in youth before my sight, where wasteful time debateth with decay to change your day of youth to sullied night, and, all in war with time for love of you, as he takes from you, I engraft you new. 16. But wherefore do you a mightier way make war upon this bloody tyrant time, and fortify yourself in your decay with means more blessed than my barren rhyme? Now stand you on the top of happy hours, and many maiden gardens yet unset with virtuous wish would bear your living flowers. Much liker than your painted counterfeit, so should the lines of life that life repair, which this time's pencil or my pupil pen, neither in inward worth nor outward fair, can make you live yourself in eyes of men. To give away yourself keeps yourself still, and you must live drawn by your own sweet skill. 17. Who will believe my verse in time to come, if it were filled with your most high deserts? Yet, though yet heaven knows it is but as a tomb which hides your life and shows not half your parts. If I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers number all your graces, the age would come to say, this poet lies. Such heavenly touches ne'er touched earthly faces. So should my papers, yellowed with their age, be scorned like old men of less truth than tongue, and your true rights be termed a poet's rage, and stretched metre of an antique song. But were some child of yours alive that time, you should live twice, in it and in my rhyme. Okay, 18. The breakthrough, the declaration of love. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaves hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Okay, so now we see the shift to the idea of a collaboration between the poet and the fair youth, the poet and the muse, and the poet preserving the muse's beauty in poetic form. So he's kind of de-emphasizing the original idea of encouraging the fair youth to get married and have kids. Okay, so now we're moving in the drama of the sonnets. Number 19. Devouring time, blunt thou the lion's paws, and make the earth devour her own sweet brood. Pluck the keen teeth from the fierce tiger's jaws, and burn the long-lived phoenix in her blood. Make glad and sorry seasons as thou fleest, and do whatever thou wilt, swift-footed time, to the wide world all her fading sweets. But I forbid thee one most heinous crime. Oh, carve not with thy hours my love's fair brow, nor draw no lines with thine antique pen. Him in thy course untainted to do allow, for beauty's pattern to succeeding men. Yet do thy worst, old time, despite thy wrong. My love shall in my verse ever live young. 20. A woman's face with nature's own hand painted hast thou, the master mistress of my passion. A woman's gentle heart, but not acquainted with shifting change, as is false women's fashion. An eye more bright than theirs, less false and rolling, gilding the object whereupon it gazeth. A man in hue all hues in his controlling, which steals men's eyes and women's souls amazeth. And for a woman wert thou first created, till nature as she wrought thee fell a-doting, and by addition of me, of thee, defeated, by adding one thing to my purpose nothing. But since she pricked thee out for women's pleasure, mine be thy love, and thy love's use their treasure. 21. So is it not with me, as with the muse stirred by a painted beauty to his verse, who heaven itself for ornament doth use, and every fair with his fair doth rehearse, making a couplement of proud compare, with sun and moon, with earth and sea's rich gems, with April's firstborn flowers and all things rare that heaven's air in this huge rondure hems. Oh, let me, true in love, but truly right. And then, believe me, my love is as fair as any mother's child, though not so bright as those gold candles fixed in heaven's air. Let them say more, that like of hearsay well, I will not praise that purpose not to sell. 22. My glass shall not persuade me I am old, so long as youth and thou are of one date. But when in thee time's furrows I behold, then look I, death, my days should expiate. For all that beauty that doth cover thee is but the seemly raiment of my heart, which in thy breast doth live, as thine in me. How can I then be elder than thou art? O therefore, love, be of thyself so wary, as I not for myself, but for thee will, bearing thy heart, which I will keep so chary, as tender nurse her babe from faring ill. Presume not on thy heart when mine is slain, thou gavest me thine not to give back again. And here, starting in Sonnet 22, there's a beginning of extensive wordplay on the name Will, the use of Will as, as a cipher for Will Shakespeare. So that continues throughout the sonnet sequence. 23. As an unperfect actor on the stage, who with his fear is put beside his part, or some fierce thing replete with too much rage, whose strength's abundance weakens his own heart, so I for fear to trust forget to say the perfect ceremony of love's rite, and in mine own love's strength seem to decay, or changed with burden of mine own love's might. Oh, let my books then be the eloquence and dumb presagers of my speaking breast, who plead for love and look for recompense, more than that tongue that more hath more exposed. Oh, learn to read what silent love hath writ, to hear with eyes belongs to love's fine wit. 24. Mine eye hath played the painter, and hath stilled thy beauty's form in table of my heart. My body is the frame wherein 'tis held, and perspective it is the best painter's art. For through the painter that you must see his skill, and find where your true image picture lies, which in my bosom shop is hanging still, that hath his windows glazed with thine eyes. Now see what good turns eyes for eyes have done. Mine eyes have drawn thy shape, and thine for me are windows to my breast, where through the sun delights to peep, and gaze therein on thee. Yet eyes this cunning want who grace their art, they draw but what they see, know not the heart. 25. Let those who are in favor with their stars of public honor and proud titles boast, whilst I, whom fortune such triumph bars, unlooked for joy in that I honor most. Great princes' favorites their fair leaves spread, but as the marigold at the sun's eye, and in themselves their pride lies buried. For at a frown they in their glory die, the painful warrior famoused for worth. After 1,000 victories once foiled, it is from the book of honor razed quite, and all the rest forgot for which he toiled. Then happy I, that love and am beloved, where I may not remove nor be removed. By emphasizing his relative lack of worldly fame here, he's foreshadowing the appearance of the rival poet in the later poems, the poet who is more successful and has of higher status. Okay. 26. Lord of my love, to whom in vassalage thy merit hath my duty strongly knit, to thee I send this written embassage, to witness duty, not to show my wit, Duty so great, which wit so poor as mine may make seem bare, and wanting words to show it. But that I hope some good conceit of thine in thy soul's thought all naked will bestow it. Till whatsoever stars that guides my moving points on me graciously with fair aspect, and puts apparel on my tattered loving, and show me worthy of thy sweet respect. Then may I dare to boast how I do love thee. Till then, not show my head where thou mayest prove me. 27. Weary with toil, I haste me home to my bed, the dear repose for limbs would travel tired, but then begin to journey in my head, to work my mind when my body's work expired, for then my thoughts from far where I abide intend a zealous pilgrimage to thee, and keep my drooping eyelids open wide, looking on darkness which the blind do see, save that my soul's imaginary sight presents thy shadow to my sightless view, which like a jewel hung in ghastly night makes black night beauteous and her old face new. Lo, thus by day my limbs, by night my mind, for thee and for myself no quiet find. 28. How can I then return in happy plight, that am debarred the benefit of rest, when day's oppression is not eased by night, but day by night and night by day oppressed, and each, though enemies to either's reign, do in consent shake hands to torture me, the one by toil, the other to complain. How far I toil, still farther off from thee. I tell the day to please him thou art bright, and dost him grace when clouds do blot the heaven. So flatter I the swart-complexioned night, when sparkling stars twire not, thou gild'st the even. But day doth daily draw my sorrows longer, and night doth nightly make grief's length seem stronger. 29. When in disgrace with fortune in men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing me like one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, yet what I most enjoy contented least, yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, haply I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising, from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate, for thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. So again, in his unrequited love and his misery, he's emphasizing his lack of worldly success, his low status, as opposed to the obviously the higher social status of the fair youth and the higher status of other poets, the rival poet. Okay. 30. When to the sessions of sweet silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past, I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought, and with old woes new wail my dear time's waste. Then can I drown an eye unused to flow for precious friends hid in death's dateless night, and weep afresh love's long since cancelled woe, and moan the expense of many a vanished sight. Then can I grieve at grievances foregone, and heavily from woe to woe, or tell o'er the sad account of fore bemoaned moan, which I knew pay as if not paid before. But if the while I think on thee, dear friend, all losses are restored, and sorrows end. Of course, there's the famous line in Quatrain 1 and line 2, remembrance of things past. I summon up remembrance of things past, which was the Old English translation of Proust's Recherche de temps perdu, in search of lost time. Most modern editions go by in search of lost time. But older generations may remember the translation by Proust by Remembrance of Things Past from Sonnet 30. All right, 31. Thy bosom is endeared with all hearts, which I by lacking have supposed dead. and there reigns love and all love's loving parts, and all those friends which I thought buried. How many a holy and obsequious tear hath dear religious love stolen mine from mine eye, as interest of the dead which now appear. But things removed that hidden in thee lie, thou art the grave where buried love doth live, hung with the trophies of my lovers gone, who all their parts of me to thee did give. That due of many now is thine alone, their images I loved I view in thee, and thou all they hast the all of me. 32. If thou survive my well-contented day, when that churl death my bones with dust shall cover, and shall by fortune once more resurvey these poor rude lines of thy deceased lover, compare them with the bettering of the time, and though they be outstripped by every pen, reserve them for my love, not for their rhyme, exceeded by the height of happier men. Then vouchsafe me but this loving thought. Had my friend's muse grown with this growing age a dearer birth than this his love had brought to march in ranks of better equipage, but since he died and poets better prove, theirs for their style I'll read, his for his love. 33. Full of many glorious morning have I seen flatter the mountain tops with sovereign eye, kissing with golden face the meadows green, gilding pale streams with heavenly alchemy. Anon permit the basest clouds to ride with ugly wrack on his celestial face, and from the forlorn world his visage hide, stealing unseen to west with this disgrace. Even so my sun one early morn did shine with all triumphant splendor on my brow, but out, alack! He was but 1 hour mine. The region cloud hath masked him from me now. Yet him, for this my love no whit disdaineth. Sons of the world may stain when heaven's sun staineth. Again, we should pay attention to the use of masculine pronouns here, the description, the metaphors of nature's beauty being reflected in masculine pronouns as reflections of masculine beauty. The beauty of the fair youth. Okay, continuing now with the sun metaphor in Sonnet 34. Why didst thou promise such a beauteous day, and make me travel forth without my cloak? To let base clouds o'ertake me in my way, hiding thy bravery in their rotten smoke. 'Tis not enough that through the clouds thou break, to dry the rain on my storm-beaten face, for no man can well of such a salve can speak that heals the wound and cures not the disgrace, nor can thy shame give physic to my relief. Though thou repent, yet I have still the loss. The offender's sorrow lends but weak relief to him that bear the strong offence's cross. But those tears are pearl which thy love sheds, and they are rich and ransom all ill deeds. The recrimination now against the cruel lover, Sonnet 35. No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. Roses have thorns, and silver fountains mud. Cloud and eclipses stain both moon and sun, and loathsome canker lives in sweetest bud. All men make faults, and even I in this, authorizing my trespass with compare, myself corrupting, salving thy amiss, excusing thy sins more than thy sins are. For to thy sensual fault I bring incense, thy adverse party is thy advocate, and 'gainst myself a lawful plea commence. Such civil war is in my love and hate, that I an accessory needs must be to that sweet thief which sourly robs from me. 36. This is sort of a classic declaration of the closet. Let me confess that we two must be twain, although our undivided loves are one. So shall those blots that do with me remain, without thy help, by me be borne alone. In our two loves there is but one respect, though in our lives a separable spite, which though it alter not love's sole effect, yet doth it steal sweet hours from love's delight. I may not evermore acknowledge thee, lest my bewailed gait should do thee shame, nor thou with public kindness honor me, unless thou take that honor from thy name. But do not so. I love thee in such sort, as, thou being mine, mine is thy good report. 37. As a decrepit father takes delight to see his active child do deeds of youth, so I, made lame by fortune's dearest spite, take all my comfort of thy worth and truth. For whether beauty, birth, or wealth, or wit, or any of these, or all, or more, entitled in thy parts to crowned sit, I make my love engrafted to this store. So then I am not lame, poor, nor despised, while thou in this shadow doth such substance give, that I in thy abundance am sufficed, and by part of all thy glory live. Look what is best, that best I wish in thee. This wish I have, then 10 times happy be. 38. How can my muse want subject to invent, while thou doth breathe, that pourest into my verse thine own sweet argument, too excellent for every vulgar paper to rehearse? O give thyself the thanks, if aught in me worthy perusal stand against thy sight. For who so dumb that cannot write to thee when thou thyself dost give invention light? Be thou the 10th muse, 10 times more in worth than those old 9 which rhymers invocate. And he that calls on thee, let him bring forth eternal numbers to outlive long date. If my slight muse do please these curious days, the pain be mine, but thine shall be the praise. 39. Oh, how thy worth with manners may I sing, when thou art all the better part of me? What can mine own praise to mine own self bring, but what is but mine when I praise thee? Even for this let us divided live, and our dear love lose name of single one, that by this separation I may give that due to thee which thou deservest alone. O absence, what a torment wouldst thou prove, were it not thy sour leisure gave sweet leave to entertain the time with thoughts of love, which time and thoughts so sweetly doth deceive. And that thou teachest how to make one twain, by praising him here who doth hence remain. So in the sonnet narrative, there's a departure, physical distance, and the poet is thinking of the fair youth from a distance. And going back to recriminations now, Sonnet 40. Take all my loves, my love, yea, take them all. What hast thou more than thou hadst before? No love, my love, thou mayest true love call. All mine was thine before thou hadst this more. Then, if for my love thou my love receivest, I cannot blame thee for my love thou usest, but yet be blamed if thou thyself deceivest by wilful taste of what thyself refusest. I do forgive robbery, gentle thief, although you steal thee all my poverty, and yet love knows it is a greater grief to bear love's wrong than hate's known injury. Lascivious grace, in whom all ill well shows, kill me with spites, yet we must not be foes. So this is introducing the theme of jealous rivalry, and specifically of the fair youth stealing away one of the poet's lovers, so possibly or probably the dark lady, who has not been introduced yet. And so continuing with this theme of the fair youth's seduction of the poet's mistress, Sonnet 41. Those pretty wrongs that liberty commits, when I am sometime absent from thy heart, thy beauty and thy years full well befits, for still temptation follows where thou art. Gentle thou art, and therefore to be won, beauteous thou art, therefore to be assailed. And when a woman woos, what woman's son will sourly leave her till he have prevailed? Ay me, but yet thou mightst my seat forbear, and chide thy beauty and thy straying youth, who lead thee in their riot even there, where thou art forced to break a twofold truth, hers, by thy beauty tempting her to thee, thine, by thy beauty being false to me. Continuing to his address to both of his lovers who have cheated on him with each other. Sonnet 42. That thou hast her, it is not all my grief, yet it may be said I loved her dearly. That she hath thee is of my wailing chief, a loss in love that touches me more nearly. Loving offenders, thus I will excuse ye. Thou dost love her because thou knowest I love her, and for my own sake even so doth she abuse me, suffering my friend for my sake to approve her. If I lose thee, my loss is my love's gain, and losing her, my friend hath found that loss. Both find each other, and I lose both twain, and both for my sake lay me on this cross. But here's the joy, my friend and I are one, such flattery, then she loves but me alone. 43. When I most wink, when I do mine eyes best see, for all the day they view things unrespected, but when I sleep in dreams they look on thee, and darkly bright are bright and dark directed. Then thou whose shadow shadows doth make bright, how would thy shadow's form happy show to the clear day with thy much clearer light, when to unsuspecting eyes thy shade shines so? How would I say mine eyes be blessed made by looking on thee in the living day, when in the dead night thy fair and perfect shade through heavy sleep on sightless eyes doth stay? All days are nights to see till I see thee, and nights bright days when dreams do show me thee. Interesting use of repetition of noun and verb forms of the same word. For example, in Quatrain 1 and Quatrain 2, shadow, shadows, and then in thy shadows form, right? So shadow, shadows, form, so it's a nice use of kind of repetition and parallelism there in Sonnet 43. Going on to continuing this thought in Sonnets 44 and 45. If the dull substance of my flesh were thought injurious, distance would not stop my way. For then, despite of space, I would be brought from limits far remote, where thou dost stay, no matter then although my foot did stand upon the farthest earth removed from thee, for nimble thought can jump both sea and land, as soon as think the place where he would be. But thought kills me, that I am not thought to leap large lengths of miles when thou art gone. But that, so much of earth and water wrought, I must attend time's leisure with my moan, receiving naught by elements so slow, but heavy tears, badges of either's woe. Sonnet 45, continuing this theme. The other two, slight air and purging fire, are both with thee wherever I abide. The first my thought, the other my desire, these present absent, with swift motion slide. For when these quicker elements are gone, in tender embassy of love to thee, my life, being made of four, with two alone, sinks down to death, oppressed with melancholy, until life's composition be recurred by the swift messengers returned from thee. But even from now come back again, assured of their fair health, recounting to me. This told, I joy, but then, no longer glad, I send them back again, and straight grow sad. Interesting use of antitheses here. For example, in the second quatrain, present hyphen absent, showing this sort of dialectical conflict, like when he says the master mistress of my soul, right? So it illustrating his inner turmoil, his inner conflict. And also my life being made of four, with two alone, he's presaging the sort of the intimate relationship he has with the fair youth, moving to a kind of a three-way, a love triangle with the dark lady, and we're presaging the appearance of the rival poet, the fourth. Okay. And 46, a thank you note. Mine eye and heart are at mortal war, how to divide the conquest of thy sight. Mine eye, my heart, thy picture's sight would bar. My heart, mine eye, the freedom of that right. My heart doth plead that thou in him dost lie, a closet never pierced with crystal eyes. But the defendant doth that plea deny, and says in him thy fair appearance lies. To side this time is impaneled, a quest of thoughts, all tenants to the heart, and by their verdict is determinate. The clear eyes' moiety and the dear heart's part, as thus, mine eye's due is thy outward part, and my heart's right thy inward love of heart. 47. Betwixt mine eye and heart a league is took, and each doth good turns now unto the other. When that mine eye is famished for a look, or love and heart with sighs himself doth smother, with my love's picture then my eye doth feast, and to the painted banquet bids my heart. Another time mine eye is my heart's guest, and in his thoughts of love doth share a part. So either by thy picture or my love, thyself away are present still with me, for thou no farther than my thoughts canst move, and I am still with them, and they with thee. Or if they sleep, thy picture in my sight awakes my heart to heart's and eyes' delight. 48. How careful was I, when I took my way, each trifle under truest bars to thrust, that to my use it might unused stay, from hands of falsehood and sure words of trust. But thou, to whom my jewels trifles are, most worthy of comfort, now my greatest grief, thou best of dearest and mine only care, art left the prey of every vulgar thief. Thee have I not locked up in any chest, save where thou art not, though I feel thou art, within the gentle closure of my breast. For whence at pleasure thou mayst come and part, and even thence thou wilt be stolen, I fear, for truth proves thievish for a prize so dear. So again, the poet confesses his fear that his lover will be stolen. In the couplet, he says, when he says, even thence thou wilt be stolen, I fear. Right? So in lines 13 and 14. So the poet is continuing to fantasize about the situation where the beloved, the fair youth, leaves him. 49. Against that time, if ever that time come, when I shall see thee frown on my defects, when as thy love hast cap his utmost sum, call to that audit by advised respects, against that time when thou shalt strangely pass, and scarcely greet me with that sun, thine eye, when love, converted from the thing it was, shall reasons find of settled gravity, against that time do I ensconce me here within the knowledge of mine own desert, and this my hand against myself uprear, to guard the lawful reasons of thy part. To leave poor me thou hast the strength of laws, since why to love I can allege no cause. And 50 and 51, looking again at from the perspective, love from the perspective of travel. How heavy do I journey on the way, when what I seek, my weary travel's end, doth teach that ease and repose to say, thus far the miles are measured from thy friend. The beast that bears me tired with my woe plods dully on to bear that weight with me, as if by some instinct the wretch did know his rider loved not speed, being made from thee. The bloody spur cannot provoke him on, that sometimes anger thrusts into his side, which heavily he answers with a groan, more sharp to me than spurring to his side. For that same groan doth put this in my mind, my grief lies onward, and my joy behind. Continuing with the metaphor of the horse traveling on horseback, 51. Thus can my love excuse the slow offense of my dull bearer when I from thee speed, from where thou art. Why should I haste me thence? Till I return of posting is no need. O what excuse will my poor beast then find, when what swift extremity can seem but slow? Then should I spur, though mounted on the wind, in winged speed no motion shall I know. Then can no horse with my desire keep pace. Therefore desire, of perfect love being made, shall neigh no dull flesh in his fiery race. But love for love thus shall excuse my jade, since from thee going he went wilful slow. Towards thee I'll run, and give him leave to go. 52. So am I as the rich whose blessed key can bring him to his sweet up-locked treasure, from which he will not every hour survey, for blunting the fine point of seldom pleasure. Therefore our feasts so solemn and rare, since seldom coming in the long year set, like stones of worth they thinly placed are, or captain jewels in the carcanet. So is the time that keeps you as my chest, or as the wardrobe which the robe doth hide, to make some special instant special blessed, by new unfolding his unprisoned hide. Blessed are you whose worthiness gives scope, being had to triumph, being lacked to hope. Number 53. Greek metaphors. What is your substance, whereof you are made, that millions of strange shadows on you tend? Since everyone hath, everyone, one shade, and you but one, can every shadow lend? Describe Adonis, and the counterfeit is poorly imitated after you. On Helen's cheek all art of beauty set, and you in Grecian tires are painted new. Speak of the Greek and foison of the year, the one doth shadow of your beauty show, the other as your beauty doth appear, and you in every blessed shape we know. In all external grace you have some part, but you like none you for constant heart. 54, the metaphor of the rose, the flowers, which, of course, in Arabic poetry is often a symbol of male beauty. Perhaps, utterly coincidentally, 54. Oh, how much more doth beauty beauteous seem, by that sweet ornament which truth doth give. The rose looks fair, but fairer we it deem, for that sweet odour which doth in it live. The canker blooms have full as deep a dye as the perfumed tincture of the roses. Hang on such thorns, and play as wantonly when summer's breath their masked buds discloses. But for thy virtue only is their show. They live unwooed, and unrespected fade, die to themselves. Sweet roses do not so. Of their sweet deaths the sweetest odours are made. And so of you, beauteous and lovely youth, when shall that vade by verse distils your truth? So, continuing the metaphor of beauty, physical beauty into poetic beauty, 55. Not marble nor the gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme, but you shall shine more bright in these contents than unswept stone besmeared with sluttish time, when wasteful war shall statues overturn, and broils root out the work of masonry. Nor Mars his sword, nor war's quick fire shall burn the living record of your memory, 'gainst death and all oblivious enmity. Shall you pace forth, your praise shall still find room, even in the eyes of posterity, that wear this world out to the ending doom. So, till the judgment that you yourself arise, you live in this, and dwell in lovers' eyes. Okay, so here is the sort of the definitive statement which was presaged in Sonnet 18, that the poet is assuming his role as this sort of superhuman divine agent of immortal poetry that will outlive people, that will outlive monuments, statues, that will not be destroyed by wars or documents, and will preserve the essence of his love for the fair youth forever. All right. And 56. Sweet love, renew thy force. Be it not said thy edge should be blunter than appetite, which but today is by feeding is allayed, tomorrow sharpened in his former might. So, love, be thou, although today thou fill thy hungry eyes, even till they wink with fullness, tomorrow see again, and do not kill the spirit of love with a perpetual dullness. Let this sad interim like the ocean be, which parts the shore where two contracted new come daily to the banks, that when they see return of love, more blessed may be the view. Or call it winter, which being full of care makes summers welcome, thrice more wished, more rare. Here we have in the next two sonnets a kind of submissive, dominant dynamic of a lover seeing himself in abjection and seeing the beloved as the dominant partner. 57. Being your slave, what should I do but tend upon the hours and times of your desire? I have no precious time at all to spend, nor services to do till you require. Nor dare I chide the world without end hour, whilst I, my sovereign, watch the clock for you. Nor think the bitterness of absence sour, when you have bid your servant once adieu. Nor dare I question with my jealous thought where you may be, or your affairs suppose, but, like a sad slave, stay and think of naught, save where you are, how happy you make those. So true a fool is love, that in your will, though you do anything, he thinks no ill. So again, will is cipher for William Shakespeare. He says, your will is saying, your command, but also your William. Continuing with this metaphor of submission and dominance, erotic submission and dominance, that is to say, 58. That God forbid that made me first your slave, I should in thought control your times of pleasure, or at your hand the count of hours to crave, being your vassal bound to stay your leisure. Oh, let me suffer, being at your beck, the imprisoned absence of your liberty, and patience tamed to sufferance bide each check, without accusing you of injury. But where you list, your charter is so strong that you yourself may privilege to your time, to what you will. To you it doth belong, yourself to pardon of self-doing crime. I am to wait, though waiting be so be hell. Not blame your pleasure, be it ill or well. 59. This is a paraphrase of, I think, Ecclesiastes, that I saw there is nothing new under the sun. Yeah. So, but being used as a secular proverb here. 59. If there be nothing new, but that which hath been before, how are our brains beguiled, which laboring for invention bear amiss the second burden of a former child? Oh, that record could, with a backward look, even of 500 courses of the sun, show me your image in some antique book, since mine at first in character was done, that I might see what the old world could say to this composed wonder of your frame, whether we are mended, or where better they, or whether revolution be the same. Oh, sure I am the wits of former days, to subjects worse, have given admiring praise. 60. Like as the waves make toward the pebbled shore, so do our minutes hasten to their end, each changing place with that which goes before, in sequent toil all forwards do contend. Nativity, once in the main of light, crawls to maturity, wherewith being crowned, crooked eclipses 'gainst his glory fight, and time that gave doth now his gift confound. Time doth transfix the flourish set on youth, and delves the parallels in beauty's brow, feeds on the rarities of nature's truth, and nothing stands but for his scythe to mow. And yet to times in hope my verse shall stand, praising thy worth despite his cruel hand. 61. Again, restless sleep, which has been in the previous poems, the inability to sleep due to lovesickness. Okay, 61. Is it thy will thy image should keep open my heavy eyelids to the weary night? Dost thou desire my slumbers should be broken, while shadows like to thee doth mock my sight? Is it thy spirit that thou sendest from thee so far from home into my deeds to pry, to find out shames and idle hours in me, the scope and tenor of thy jealousy? Oh, no! Thy love, though much, is not so great. It is my love that keeps mine eye awake, mine own true love that doth my rest defeat, to play the watchman ever for thy sake. For thee watch I, whilst thou dost wake elsewhere, from me far off, with others all too near. 62. Sin of self-love possesseth all mine eye, and all my soul, and all my every part. And for this sin there is no remedy, it is so grounded inward in my heart. Methinks no face so gracious is as mine, no shape so true, no truth of such account as for myself mine own worth do define, as I other in all worth surmount. But when my glass shows me myself indeed, beated and chopped with tanned antiquity, mine own self-love quite contrary I read. Self, so self-loving were iniquity. 'Tis thee, myself, that for myself I praise, painting my age with beauty of thy days. 63. Against my love shall be, as I am now, with time's injurious hand crushed and overworn, when hours have drained his blood and filled his brow with lines and wrinkles, when his youthful morn hath travelled onto age's steepy night, and all those beauties whereof now he's king are vanishing or vanished out of sight, stealing away the treasure of his spring. For such a time do I now fortify against confounding age's cruel knife, that he shall never cut from memory my sweet love's beauty, though my lover's life, his beauty shall in these black lines be seen, and they shall live, and he and them still green. So again, extending the metaphor that continued in Sonnet 18, that the lover's beauty will continue in this poetry, that these specific lines of these sonnets will commemorate and keep the poets, keep the lover's beauty forever. Yeah. 64. Classic expression of despair. When I have seen by time's fell hand defaced the rich proud cost of outworn buried age, when sometime lofty towers I see down raised, and brass eternal slave to mortal rage, when I have seen the hungry ocean gain advantage on the kingdom of the shore, and the firm soil win of that watery main, increasing store with loss and loss with store, when I have seen such interchange of state, or state itself confounded to decay, ruin hath taught me thus to ruminate, that time will come and take away my love. This thought is as death, which cannot choose, but weep to have that which it fears to lose. So much beauty in this sonnet. Again, interesting use of chiasmus, increasing store with loss and loss with store. The inverted, and then the this sort of assonance or internal rhyme of ruin and rumen. Ruin hath taught me thus to ruminate, right? In line 11, yeah. So very nice use of wordplay in addition to brilliant use of rhyme. Okay. 65. Again, thinking about the destructive power of time and what survives and what doesn't. So 65. Since brass nor stone, no earth nor boundless sea, but sad mortality o'ersways their power, how with this rage shall beauty hold a plea whose action is no stronger than a flower? Oh, how shall summer's honey's breath hold out against the wrackful siege of battering days, when rocks impregnable are not so stout, nor gates of steel so strong, but time decays? Oh, fearful meditation, where, alack, shall time's best jewel from time's chest lie hid? Or what strong hand can hold his swift foot back, or who his spoil of beauty can forbid? Oh, none, unless this miracle might have might, that in black ink my love may still shine bright. So again, in the Volta, that in black ink, he's expressing confidence that all things decay, but in the black ink of that is to say, in the writing of these exact sonnets, that they will be forever bright. And here, it's 400 years later, so he was right. He predicted correctly. And here in Sonnet 66, we have a litany and extensive use of anaphora. It has a kind of psalm-like quality. 66. Tired with all these, for restful death I cry, as to behold a desert beggar born, and needy nothing trimmed in jollity, and purest faith unhappily forsworn, and gilded honor shamefully misplaced, and maiden virtue rudely strumpeted, and right perfection wrongly disgraced, and strength by limping away disabled, and art made tongue-tied by authority, and folly doctor-like controlling skill, and simple truth miscalled simplicity, and captive good tending captain ill. Tired with all these, from these would I be gone, save that to die I leave my love alone. Okay, so in these next two sonnets, society versus nature, and in the context of the love of the poet for the fair youth. So, verse 67 and 68. Ah, wherefore with infection should he live, and with his presence grace and piety, that sin by him advantage should achieve, and lace itself with his society. Why should false painting imitate his cheek, and steal dead seeing his virtue, seeing his living hue? Why should poor beauty indirectly seek roses of shadow, since his rose is true? Why should he live, now nature bankrupt is, beggared of blood to blush through lively veins? For she hath no exchequer now but his, and proud of many lives upon his gains. O him he stores to show what wealth she had in days long since, before these last so bad. Okay, nature personified here with the feminine pronoun, as opposed to other natural metaphors which have used masculine pronouns. And, of course, the double meaning of infection in the first line, wherefore with infection should he live, will come back in the very end of the sonnet sequence, when it's apparent that all three of the lovers have been infected with STIs. And, okay, 67. 68, and again, rose, the image of male beauty, the rose here, obviously can be understood as a double entendre sexually. 68. Thus is his cheek the map of days outworn, when beauty lived and died as flowers do now, before the bastard signs of fair were born, or durst inhabit on a living brow, before the golden tresses of the dead, the right of sepulchres were shorn away, to live a second life on second head, ere beauty's dead fleece made another gay. In him these holy antique hours are seen, without all ornament itself and true, making no summer of another's green, robbing no old to dress his beauty new. And him as for a map doth nature store, to show false art what beauty was of yore. 69. Again, praise of the the youth's beauty. Those parts of thee that the world's eye doth view want nothing that the thought of hearts can mend. All tongues, the voice of souls, give thee that due, uttering bare truth, even so as foes commend. Thy outward thus with outward praise is crowned. But those same tongues that give thee so thine own in other accents do this praise confound. By seeing farther than the eye hath shown, they look into the beauty of thy mind, and that in guess they measure by thy deeds. Then churls their thoughts, although their eyes were kind, to thy fair flower add the rank smell of weeds. But why thy odor matcheth not thy show, the soil is this, that thou dost common grow. So the poet is saying that he sees the inner beauty of the beloved's mind, not just his outer beauty, which the world praises. 70. That thou art blamed shall not be thy defect, for slander's mark was ever yet the fair. The ornament of beauty is suspect, a crow that flies in heaven's sweetest air. So thou be good, slander doth but approve thy worth the greater, being wooed of time. For canker vice the sweetest buds doth love, and thou presentest the pure unstained prime. Thou hast passed by the ambush of young days, either not assailed or victor being charged. Yet this thy praise cannot be so, thy praise, to tie up envy evermore enlarged. If some suspect ill masked not thy show, then thou alone kingdoms of hearts should sow. So he's saying, colloquially, haters gonna hate. People cast negative aspersions on him because of his beauty and so on, but, to disregard that. 71. And I think we'll draw the line at 75 because I hear my voice getting a little bit raspy. So read 4 more and then I think draw the line. We'll read these 4 sonnets, 71, 72, 73, 74. Yeah. Contemplations of death and the beloved. No longer mourn for me when I am dead, then you shall hear the surly sullen bell give warning to the world that I am fled from this vile world with vilest worms to dwell. Nay, if you read this line, remember not the hand that writ it, for I love you so, that I in your sweet thoughts would be forgot, if thinking on me men should make you woe. Oh, if, I say, you look upon this verse, when I perhaps compounded am I with clay, do not so much as my poor name rehearse, but let your love even with my life decay, lest the wise world should look into your moan and mock you with me after I'm gone. That's really a tragic expression of forbidding mourning, of a completely forbidden same-sex love. That if one partner dies, the other surviving partner cannot publicly mourn for fear of attack. So that's very disturbing and very moving. 71. 72, continuing the same thought. Oh, lest the world should task you to recite what merit lived in me that you should love. After my death, dear love, forget me quite. For you and me can nothing worthy prove, unless you would devise some virtuous lie, and do more for me than mine my own desert, and hang me more praised upon deceased eye than niggard truth would willingly impart. Oh, lest your true love may seem false in this, that you for love speak well of me untrue, my name be buried where my body is, and live no more to shame, nor me, nor you. For I am shamed by that which I bring forth, and so should you, to love things nothing worth. So again, in the vault of that theme of being ashamed of that love, right? Continuing with this contemplation of death, 73. Famous depiction of middle-aged love. That time of year thou mayest in me behold, when yellow leaves are none or few do hang upon those boughs which shake against the cold. bare ruined choirs where late the sweet birds sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day, as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away death's second self, that seals up all the rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire, that on the ashes of his youth doth lie, as the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well, which thou must leave ere long. So, the parallelism of death within death, when he says in line 9, death's second self that seals up all the rest, right? Which by and by the black night doth take away death's second self that seals up all the rest. It's continuing this thought in Sonnet 74. But be contented when all that fellow rests without bale shall carry me away. My life hath in this line some interest, which in for memorial still with thee shall stay. When thou reviewest this, thou doth review the very part was consecrate to thee. The earth can have but earth, which is his due. My spirit is thine, the better part of me. So when thou hast but lost the dregs of life, the prey of worms, my body being dead, the coward conquest of a wretch's knife, too base of thee to be remembered, the worth of that which is, which it contains, and that is this, and this with thee remains. And again, this is the poem itself, right? He's drawing your attention to this exact word, this line that you're in. And let's end on a more positive note, Sonnet 75. So are you to my thoughts as food to life, or as a sweet season showers are to the ground, and for the peace of you I hold such strife as twixt a miser and his wealth is found. Now proud as an enjoyer, and anon doubting the filching age will steal his treasure, now counting best to be with you alone, then better that the world may see my pleasure, sometime all full with feasting on your sight, and by clean starved for a look, possessing or pursuing no delight, save what is had or must be from you be took. Thus do I pine and surfeit day by day, or gluttoning on all or all away. Okay, that was Sonnets 1 through 75. I think we'll read the rest with Helen Bendler's commentary and discussion in our next installment in a few days. So we'll start with Sonnet 76 and go all the way to the end to 154. Yeah. Okay. And so we'll have the sonnets of the Dark Lady, and which are quite touching and in their own way, and of course the sonnets of the rival poet, and then all of the drama that leads to the end. Okay. And so I think that's enough for now. So this has been our celebration of Shakespeare, and for Shakespeare's birthday, which was April 23rd. And so we'll continue with our celebration of April Poetry Month with further reading of the, and we'll continue with poetry and music and perhaps theology, and always aesthetics, on Art is the Church of God the Creator. This has been Master Mu, Gregory Muna. Until we meet again, see you soon.